Hello, my name is Nancy Martinez, and I did my PowerPoint on Leander ISD 2021 bond election. The Leander Independent School District Board of Trustees called a bond election. The bond was created to help fund growth, maintain existing schools that would impact every student, and also provide equipment and technology replacement. One of the reasons I chose this bond election was because I've worked for Baghdad Elementary for over 10 years, and it has a very special place in my heart. And it is time for renovations. This school has been up since 1999 and needs a lot of renovations to be done that they have been pushing for every single year. As you see in this diagram, I know it's pretty small, but all the yellow are schools that need renovations. Baghdad is just one of them that needs AC replacements. They have the really big air conditions that take up the majority of your wall, and they also are very low in furniture. They're building all these new schools, and they're getting all this new furniture, and Baghdad is struggling just to get furniture. Another thing is the carpet. The carpet has not been replaced, and there has been so many teachers complaining of being sick with mold. So just in general, the reason I chose this was because renovations, which is in one of the prepositions, really needed to be done, and I felt like this was a good bond to choose. The bond ballot included preposition A, B, and C. The first with $727.2 million in new construction, renovation, and equipment replacement projects. The second was Preposition B, which included $33.3 million to replace existing technology devices over the next 3 years. The third Preposition C included millions of dollars in renovation and lighting and sound improvements to the high school and district performing arts center. So Preposition A is for new schools and facilities, and they are planning on building 4 elementary schools and 1 middle school. They are also hoping to expand New Hope High School because they are expecting to grow 400 more students. They also have a high school choice that's going to have a program where students are able to choose what kind of program they would like to study. So it's like program based. They are also looking for renovations and expansions to existing schools, which is going to involve like classroom technology modifications, renovation and capital renewal to Cedar Park, Leander, and Vista Ridge High Schools, new furniture to schools. Like I said in the previous slides, like Baghdad, new furniture that has been needed, as well as fixing their AC and really updating those to be compatible to 2021. Playground updates like shade structures. There's a lot of schools that don't have that shade with the heat. Here in Austin, it does become a problem towards when it's getting closer to summer. And so Preposition A is really working on all 3 of those: the new schools and facilities, the renovations and expansion to existing schools, and replacements for fine arts equipment. So Preposition B is a technology piece where they are wanting new laptops and device replacements for all students and staff, interactive panels for all classrooms to replace projectors. They are really wanting technology modifications to classrooms that will bring the existing classrooms up to the same standard as their 3 newly constructed schools. The 3 newly constructed schools all have interactive panels that have been enhancing learning, and they want to be able for all schools to have that. The other thing is using a 5 to 7 year replacement cycle. The bond will provide updated laptops and devices for all classrooms, students, teachers, and staff. As an internet service provider for more than 45,000 students and staff members, the bond also includes projects to replace fiber equipment and broadband facilities to improve connectivity, speed, and reliability. And then there's preposition C, and preposition C is really focused on the Performing Arts Center and the theater updates and being able to provide that capital, renewing roofing, lighting, sound system up to date with the Leander High School and the Performing Arts at Cedar Park. And then the new lighting and sound systems at Glen Rouse, Vandergrift, and Vista Ridge auditoriums. And so being able to provide the projects they need for existing facilities that will impact the schools. So Leander ISD is working to keep up with the anticipated increase in student enrollment and minimize the need to rezone school attendance lines, which can be a disruption for families and neighborhoods. The data from their demographic indicates that in the next 10 years, Leander ISD will grow by 12,400. This diagram here is showing from 2011 how much the growth is growing and where the expected growth is going to be in 2031. So in 2011, they started at 32,034 students, and they're expecting to grow into 2031, 53,206. So really just continue to grow each year. And so within the next 10 years, they're looking at 12,400 additional students with the construction of 20,600 new homes and 9 more school buildings possibly. So Leander ISD had told the community that if the bonds had passed, that it would not increase the tax rate, but rather will be paid by revenue generated by anticipated increases in housing values and the resulting property tax payments. How is it possible to not increase the tax rate? Well, they would pay existing debt off early. They would layer in debt as needed by not borrowing new money at all at once, and they would pay for projects using project property value increases instead of raising the tax rate. So as you can see in this percentage diagram, that all schools are impacted, and the bond that is mostly needed is the existing buildings, is really having those renovations needed for those existing buildings because they need to be brought up to date to the new buildings. And then there is growth. Leander ISD continues to grow, and so that is showing a need for new facilities. And then the technology devices, which is bringing those old schools up to the existing schools to be able to enhance school learning. The election was held on November 2nd, 2021. Leander ISD is a huge district that is part of Travis and Williamson County. The votes for Travis and Williamson County are shown in this diagram. Preposition B, which will provide $33.3 million to replace technological devices, was approved by voters. However, Preposition A and C were rejected, which would support new buildings, renovations, and technology infrastructure projects. With approval of Preposition B, the district now has a plan in place to replace laptops, tablets, printers, and other digital equipment used by students and staff when their replacement cycles are up. The initiative also included funding to replace projectors with interactive television screens. However, in the rejected Preposition A, the necessary classroom modifications to install the new equipment was included in that preposition. Preposition A would have funded construction of new schools and a new elementary school that would have opened up in 2023. Preposition C would have supported high school auditorium lighting and sound upgrades, as well as capital renewal projects at the Don II and South Performing Arts Center. I interviewed Jim Rose, that he is a principal for Leander ISD at one of the middle schools, and interviewing him, he felt that it wasn't the right time to submit these bonds for Leander ISD. With the book ban and other issues that have arose lately, he felt that the trust is broken. trust is broken with the community, with the teachers, and he felt that the bond should have waited. I asked him if he thought that the district had done everything they could, to be able to pass these bonds, and he said that they had. They had done everything they could to be able to, but it just wasn't the right time. And he was also very frustrated, as well as I was, about the former schools. He works at a school that also needed renovations, and they have been trying to get it passed, and it hasn't been passed. So he had a lot of important information to say, but one of the things that was big was, was this the right time to ask for these bonds when the district is just facing that lack of trust from the community? And where do we go from here? Because these buildings need to get their renovations when it all comes down to it. And the technology was passed, but the part with the being able to put up the equipment and all the fixing and the modifications that it's needed was not passed. That kind of was, it's still going to be needed. So where is Leander ISD going to come up with that money to be able to continue? It's going to have to come from somewhere. And so that is another thing that's going to continue to be discussed throughout the board meetings. And hopefully they can build that trust with the community so that they can get these bonds approved. Superintendent Bruce Gearing said, "Growth continues across Leander ISD. He believes that the community has to be re-engaged to figure out what their next action should be in terms of supporting students and maintaining existing schools. The district is currently considering using its savings account, reallocating the operational budget, redrawing attendance zones to balance enrollment, utilizing portable classrooms and buildings, and holding another bond election to pay for the necessary renovations."